Welcome, everyone. It has been so long since we've been on doing a stream, but my name's Hank Setala,
I'm Casey.
and we have my dear sacred soul sister, Sarah Stabler, online with us as well. We're just kind of catching up and seeing what's going on. And today, definitely, there seems to be a shift. Like Casey and I both recently had kind of like a little funk energy going on, and then it was just like, we just smashed through that, and now there's this new sense of magic and possibility in the world, and we're like, we got to get back on and start doing these streams. And then the day that we're doing that, Sarah reaches out, and we started reconnecting, and it's like, Sarah, why don't you come on with us and offer a little bit of your contribution to the world? And you're on mute, Sarah, just so you know.
Yeah, I know. I've got dogs barking in the background, so I'm trying to limit that noise.
Oh, gotcha. Well,
I was going to say, it's amazing how, the energy, when it's like right and it's ready for something to happen, how it'll just flow so easily. Because there have been so many days where we had messaged each other, like he messaged me or I messaged Hank. And we had talked about, hey, let's do a live stream today or tomorrow, or we're going to plan it out. And it never ended up happening for like a couple months. And then, today it was just like, hey, do you want to do this? Yeah, sure, let's hop on. And then boom. And then we have a wonderful guest on as well. So it's amazing how that works out.
Yeah, and just for people who aren't familiar with Sarah that may be watching, basically, I believe it was at the sound healing training. That's where I first met you, right? You drove in from Buffalo to Cleveland to do the crystal bowl training with Gypsy J, and we ended up connecting over crystal bowls, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's actually the first time I met you, but not the first time I talked to you, because I got into tuning forks and sound therapy, and I started my little business, and a mutual friend, Tracy, she had suggested I reach out to you. She's like, you should get some training. You should go and have meet Hank and let Hank teach you some things. And then I reached out to you. We chatted over email for a minute, and then I ended up coming to the Crystal Bowl thing, not knowing that you actually were hosting him. And it was all kind of like kismet how it all happened.
And just hosting that class, that's another example of how when things line up, things just work out. Because Jay was teaching in Akron, and I was committed that weekend, so I couldn't go. And I was like, well, I'll just make my own class. And so like a week or two after his class in Akron, I held one here. We had I think 14 people in that class.
It was awesome.
And even Gypsy J was like, well, if anybody knows Hank, if he chooses something, he'll just create it on his own. He doesn't need to wait for a class. He just does it. and everything just lined up, and it was perfect. And just saying hello to some of our guests. We see Julie just tuning in, saying good evening, as well as Kim. I know this is so odd for us to be on later in the day, because normally we're at like 9 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and now it's afternoon. So maybe
I kind of like the afternoon vibes, though. It's nice. I mean, we can play around with it, but I think maybe it may be later sometimes to do some evening episodes. That may be really nice. Sarah, I have, as I'm watching here, I'm looking at your screen, and I see, are you certified in hypnotherapy?
I am a certified hypnotist. I'm a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, and I'm one of those people that I'm like a dog with a bone. When I want to learn about stuff, I will learn and learn and learn until I finally get the thing that it makes me feel like I'm in the right direction, that I've really landed on what will allow me to assist people in the best possible way. And now that I've taken 3 certification courses in hypnosis now, so I'm feeling really good about this direction, and it's a very powerful tool to use for people.
Yes.
And I'm super stoked and honored that I get to be a part of that for people.
It's amazing. I actually sort of got my start in the whole energy shamanic world, learning about hypnosis. And at first, I came from a background of, before energy healing, where I was very much for a while just sort of like science can prove everything, and there's no such thing as spirit and all that. And but I really wanted to figure out the mind. I was fascinated with the mind itself. So in my just on my own, starting to study like the mind and going beyond, I know there's more than just sort of the surface level of what most people know about psychology, etc. I somehow stumbled upon a book about hypnosis and read a little bit about it, and then I found all these guys on, I don't know if it was on YouTube or just different websites or something, but I remember this one guy, Richard Nongard. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all. He's got a whole bunch of YouTube videos, but he was just demonstrating like different techniques of how to guide people into trance, and then he would talk about various hypnotic phenomena, hypnotic amnesia, and I don't know all the terms anymore, but I watched him. I watched him doing this, and I just had this thought of like, I can do that. I could figure that out. So I'll never forget. I went, and you know what? So for people who aren't familiar with hypnosis, there are two like main ways that we will guide a person into what we call the trance state, where they're like relaxed, and then we can give suggestions to help them to heal or whatever we're doing. And there's like a rapid induction and a lengthy induction, and then I don't know if those are the terms at all, but like in the longer induction, we would kind of talk a person through like a process of maybe like relaxing the body and then relaxing the mind. And in a rapid induction, you just sort of give a little pre-talk about what's happening, and then you do something really fast to like distract them. And to like basically get the mind to kind of go offline for a second, then you input a command. So like the handshake induction is something people may have seen in movies, where you like shake a person's hand and like flip it really quick, so they're like jolted, and then you tell them sleep, and then they just go right into that trance state. And like I would consider a rapid induction to be something like of a little bit more of a sort of advanced technique. Like certainly not the first thing you try when getting into the hypnosis world, but I was talking to a friend. I'm like, I want to try this hypnosis thing. Didn't tell him what I was about to do. I just told him I've been learning about hypnosis. And then right off the bat, just did a rapid handshake induction. And then he was like out, and then got all these amazing phenomena that I'd been learning about like in the first try. And I became really obsessed with it, and just learned so much in a really short period of time. And I was going to get certified myself. And then Spirit had other plans for me at the time, but maybe that's something I'll revisit. So how did you get your start, and what made you interested in hypnosis initially?
Well, I will tell you that I started off as a massage therapist. I was very like you, very science-minded. Science can tell us everything. Mm-hmm. And through massage therapy school, though, I learned that wasn't the case, because as soon as you get into Oriental medicine and Eastern medicine, you learn really quickly that there's a lot more to things. Then there's a lot more to it than what you might think. So with massage therapy, I started kind of learning that a lot of people's experiences, or a lot of the pain that they would come to experience in their body, wasn't really physical. It was a lot mental and emotional. And so I kind of started on this journey to figure out how to help people with the mental and emotional stuff. So I got into energy healing. I got into sound therapy. I got into, you like name it, I was getting into it to try and work on the mental and emotional, the subconscious stuff that was manifesting physically for people. Mm-hmm. And I had someone who was renting out of my office that was a hypnotist. And she introduced me to a book called The Secret Language of Feelings. And in that book, it's by Cal Banyan, and that's actually the last person I took a course from, and he's a phenomenal teacher. So if you're looking to get certified as a hypnotist, I would definitely highly recommend Banyan Hypnosis Center. He was on the board at the National Guild for a long time. He's a phenomenal teacher, phenomenal mentor, and he's been in the industry for a long time. So he definitely knows what he's doing.
Did you train with him locally or virtually? Virtually.
Okay. Because, it's just logistically, it made more sense. And, this book, though, kind of like changed a lot of the perspectives I had, and spoke to a lot of what I was already feeling, that no feelings are bad or wrong, that they're information, and that we can use that information to guide us through our lives, because really any feeling is just your subconscious telling you an unmet want, need, or desire. So if you, instead of avoiding our feelings, which is what majority of society is been taught, and majority of us do on a regular basis, is we stuff, suppress, repress, avoid, distract. We don't want to deal with the emotions. So, and we don't ever ask any questions around that. And, I've done Access Consciousness with Hank too. So like Access teaches us to ask questions. That's not what a lot of people are doing. They don't really ask questions around their feelings a lot either. So after I kind of got invested with that book, years went by. I got into life coaching. I did a lot of other things. And I finally came back around to the idea that, something was missing. I wanted to be more effective than what I could do. Coaching takes such a long time sometimes for people to get to those subconscious blocks. It's like, how can I speed this process up? How can I make it go a little bit faster? How can I utilize all the skills I have along and make and improve them to really get people to where they want to be and what they really desire to bring into their lives? How can I hold space for that? And that ended up, led me back down the hypnosis track. And so, I took 3 courses. I also learned from Marissa Peer, our RTT, that's a rapid transformational therapy. And I really, after taking the CALS course, I recognized that there was a reason why I took 3 courses, because I was missing things that I wasn't getting from. So I after 3 courses, now I feel like, okay, I've really got everything I need to really facilitate for others and hold space and be able to help them to get to the real root of what is blocking them, or what is creating and manifesting thoughts, what is creating and manifesting the feelings that they're experiencing, and what beliefs might be driving them. And it allows us to create more breakthroughs for people. So it's really very exciting stuff. I'm a firm believer in it. I've seen how quickly and rapidly it works. It's worked rapidly on me in so many ways. There's definitely a process. Like I've learned too that there are a lot of people out there that are instant gratification junkies, right? I'm kind of an instant gratification junkie sometimes. And we think that things are going to happen super quick, but any real transformation that we're going to have, I've found, at least from my own personal experience. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be true for everyone. I found that the most rewarding transformations are those that take a little bit of time, that kind of unfold unfold naturally over a little bit of time. Not a lot of time, but a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's amazing for me to hear about people that have like kind of pursued that path, and how we all arrive differently at these different stages. Like you started out as a massage therapist and then worked your way towards like trying to figure out the like deeper parts of the subconscious and the mind, where I'm actually a massage therapist as well. Yeah. I started with hypnosis and then kind of worked my way through energy healing and all this stuff. And so it's very interesting to hear how we arrive at these different places. But Oh, go ahead, Hank.
Have either of you heard there's a very specific type of hypnosis modality? One of my friends practices it. It's like quantum something hypnotherapy. Yeah. And one of the things that they do is they bring the person to that place in between lifetimes where they're talking to their higher self and they can ask questions. And you even have the ability to kind of rewrite, if there is a script, like having the ability to kind of change what you had planned and that type of thing. It's really interesting.
Yep, I've actually, one of my good friends actually had a session of that with someone. And then I believe he also went and saw, his name is blanking from me now. The one main healer guy from Lilydale. You know what I'm talking about, Hank.
Tom Kratzley? Tom
Kratzley. He had a session with Tom Kratzley. I'd have hypnosis with him as well. And he said both experiences were awesome. There is a lot to be said for like past life regression, that kind of thing. I haven't personally dove into that too much. I stick mostly in the present time, but hypnosis is a really cool thing. You can do a lot of really cool things with it. I mean, shoot, even I heard of somebody was doing hypnosis, and during an age regression, they encountered that the person wasn't alone in their body, and that the hypnotist realized that they weren't talking to the person anymore. They were talking to another entity that was in the body with them. And it was a really interesting conversation that unfolded based on that. And I believe anything is possible. And it's very curious to me. I am not sure if I will run into that type of scenario. I'll draw that type of scenario into my world, but I found it was really interesting. He actually taught a whole course on that, on how to deal with people that have other entities inside of them when you're trying to do healing hypnosis. So
Casey and I both could go do a whole probably multi-day class on
I'm
entities.
sure.
Dual occupants. It's actually an Axis too. They have a whole subset called Talk to the Entities, and even in Foundation, they talk about having more than one being in the body. And, and now it's crazy. Walk-ins is a whole other thing. But all kinds of wonderful, crazy things in this world we're living.
Yeah. It's funny. I had done work with like entity removal before ever meeting Hank, but then discovering the way that he kind of works and processes and addresses entities. At first, when I watched him, the first time I saw him do an entity removal in person, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to be doing that with people. And then it was maybe, I want to say like a week or two later, I was about to do a healing session, and I knew, like before I even went into it, I know I'm going to have to do that. And Hank was actually, I did it out of the office that we work in together, and Hank was there, and I'm like, hey, I'm getting ready to do this. Like, is there any way you can like be a part of this and help me or something? He's like, no, you got it, man. Like, you can do this. And then I did that one. It was really powerful and really it was kind of life-changing for that person. And I was like, wow, you know what? Like, that was actually pretty wild and kind of fun. And then, and then it was just after that, there was a period of a couple months where it was like every single day people were coming to me for that work. It was amazing. But it's, when you're, sometimes spirit decides you're ready, and then it'll hand you a whole bunch of whatever it is you're ready for.
Well, if you have that skill set too, people have like a subconscious knowing that you can deal with that, and they'll naturally just come to you. And that's why, so it's not like that all of a sudden, like in the world, there's all these situations. It's just that now that vibration was in you, and now like attracts like when it comes to that. And it was like one after the other.
Yeah. That's the cool thing though. Like what I was learning is that so one of the things that I've become a certified 7-path teacher, and 7-path is a style of self-hypnosis that's unlike any other self-hypnosis out there. And one of the things that it talks about is that 7-path will actually deal with a lot of those issues that people have, because it's connecting you to whatever your spiritual belief is. So it doesn't matter if you believe in the same stuff that we believe in. You could believe in, Buddhism, you could believe in Allah, you could believe in spirit, you could believe in God, whatever. It works with any belief system. Even if you're agnostic, it could work with, your higher self, your highest potential, nature, or whatever you want. So what it does is, because you're working in that greater sense, you're kind of doing this little call and response type technique, and it brings up whatever it is that you need to process in the moment. And it's such a insight-based, such a cool system. I wish I could really do it justice by explaining it. It's such an awesome system, and it works very systematically to kind of deal with any of the stuff that's in you. And I just find it to be it's going to be such an awesome class when I finally am ready to teach it. I can't wait. It's already done like miraculous things for me. It's brought up memories that I have completely suppressed and repressed, emotions. I had a realization that, everyone thinks anger is like such a bad thing, right? Oh, I'm angry. You're such an angry human being. That's such a terrible thing. Well, when you understand what anger really is, and you understand what its purpose is, you don't really feel so bad about it. And one of the things that I had recognized is I was using anger as a motivator for a majority of my life to motivate me to do different things. But without that anger, I don't know if I would have survived. Like, my life was tough, and I had a lot of things to be angry about, justly to be angry about. And if I wouldn't have had that anger, I might not have been able to keep going. So that's like your protective mechanisms, your survival mechanisms picking up and helping to keep you going. And through that self-hypnosis technique, I was actually able to come to understand that. And instead of being judgmental about it or trying to push it away, it's, oh, do I even really need that anymore? Mm-hmm. I guess I don't. I guess I can use something else as a motivator now. Thanks, anger. Bye. Mm-hmm. It's such a really cool way of dealing with that, and dealing with some of the entities that people have it's going to take care of that in a different way without necessarily having to use some of the more, with some of the, like the access type language, you wouldn't have to do that. You just use the 7-path. You give them the tool and they do it themselves. It's kind of cool.
One thing I love about what you're saying with that is just like an access they teach, they empower people to know that they know you are your own greatest resource, or we are our own greatest resource, and you're empowering yourself to get to the awarenesses that you need to really shift and change. And the other thing with anger, like I think Access uses the term potency. Like anger is just a potency, and sometimes when we have a potency, you can apply that in a skillful way or not so skillful way, depending on the situation, where we're looking to do it as skillfully as possible as we gain a whole bunch of life experience. Welcome back, Casey.
Hey, sorry, I just realized I forgot something. And that's a really cool point too, like with because you're talking a lot about, and I've never heard of that particular system, but with self-hypnosis. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in truth, all hypnosis is hypnosis, right? The hypnotist or hypnotherapist, they're not doing anything to you. They're coaching you into a state and giving you suggestions, but you're the one that's making all of those changes and making all those things happen. So in that way, it's really empowering for people, I think.
And there's so much, and I'm going to tailor off of that what you just said, Casey, because I think you hit home a really important point. There's a lot of misinformation. I mean, how many people have seen the movie Get Out, right? Like you think that they're gonna hypnotize you with a cup of tea? No. There's so much misinformation out there about hypnosis. People are like, oh, it's relaxation, it's like meditation, it's sleep. It's none of those things, actually. It's focused attention, and the hypnotist is creating heightened suggestibility. But we do that all the time. You drive down the road and forget how you got there, and Access, we might call it the robots driving, but really that's hypnosis. You daydream, that's hypnosis. You've ever been looking for your keys and they've been right in front of you, and you're like, someone else walks into the room, it's like, hey, your keys are right there. You're like, how come I didn't see that? That's hypnosis. Like, we go in and out of it all the time. It's a natural state of our consciousness. And so a hypnotist, when you go to a hypnotist to see them for hypnosis work, we're doing it on purpose. We're just doing it on purpose. We're directing your mind that we want to access subconscious information or unconscious information, your body's information, body awareness, body's consciousness. And, it's something that the hypnotist isn't doing anything to you. We're just directing you, guiding you, if you will, facilitating for you so that you can get to the things you need to get to for whatever, belief systems or emotions that you need to process. I can't help that.
It really is. It's very fascinating. Now, what you said though, I was always given a distinction, at least by the people that I was sort of like researching and learning from, was that we would call it the trance state. So when you're like driving down the highway and you haven't thought like a single thought for a while, and you're just kind of like so zoned out, or like when you're really just in that relaxed but very focused state, maybe even like when you're reading a book or something, you're really engrossed in the story. So that's the trance state. But like hypnosis, I was always taught is making skillful use of the trance state to plant suggestions to create some kind of change.
Well, here's the thing. So trance does not require hypnosis, but hypnosis always requires trance. So they're similar, but the whole point is that trance is required in order to have hypnosis. You can't have it without. So when you have let's say they call it highway hypnosis for a reason, right? Because it's the same type of thing. You are going into trance. You're not getting any suggestion to go along with it. There's no hypnosis work being done.
Yeah, and so like really so for example, you were talking about like the oh, I can't find my keys, and then like someone picks it up and they're right here. I remember that was a hypnotic or a phenomenon called a negative hallucination.
Yes,
term for it. So So what they would refer to a positive hallucination would be like if you're looking and you're seeing something that other people in the room can't see.
You're adding something as positive. Yep.
And then a negative hallucination is when you're looking directly at something, but you can't see
it.
it. Normally, like that happens, it's just kind of a subconscious process where it'll happen randomly. And like you said, you're looking for your keys, can't find them. Someone's like, are these them? And you're like, I know I looked directly at that spot. Now, the fascinating thing, when we bring the mind into that really relaxed but focused state where we have more access to communicate directly with the subconscious mind that creates all of this and does all of these things, then you can take a process like that is normally unconscious, turn it into a conscious one, and then you could do something as wild as this sounds. I've done it, where you make yourself completely invisible to a person. While they're looking directly at you, you can be entirely invisible to that person. I've done that in hypnosis sessions where then you like pick up something and it literally just looks like it's floating in front of them. Like that's just an example of how powerful the use of hypnosis can be. You know, if you can create that kind of change where you literally can make yourself invisible to another human being, you know, think of like the therapeutic aspects of just that much power, because it's the subconscious mind that does all of this whole reality we see around us, all of the images of this room and this computer, that's just light, energy, information hitting my eyes, being converted to electricity. That's then the subconscious mind is all the stuff that I don't understand, and then I get this visual world. Same thing with the audio. It's just electrical impulses in the brain organized by the subconscious mind. Everything, touch, all of it. So when you have a more direct line of communication with those parts of the brain that organize this whole reality, you can change just about anything you want, which is the really fascinating thing about hypnosis.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way that I see it, at least the way that I understand it, is it's kind of like you have 3 layers of the mind. So you have your conscious mind, which is your thinking mind, only holds like 7 to 9 bits of information, right? It's very limited in a lot of ways. You have your subconscious mind, which is like your storehouse. It's where all the information, all your experiences are categorized, labeled. I like to think of it like you got a Dewey Decimal System that, you know, is really badass and just files and sorts everything. And then your unconscious mind is the animalistic part of you. It's the instinctual part. It's really your body's consciousness. So your all of the feelings and sensations and hormonal stuff that we experience, that all comes from our unconscious mind, the mind that is the consciousness of the body. So the way I see it is hypnosis is a way to bridge between the conscious and the subconscious and unconscious. So it creates this little pathway around our protective layers, because each layer of the mind has a protective layer. It's not going to take suggestions that it doesn't want to take. It's built to keep you safe. That is what your mind's job is to keep you safe. So it's just kind of going around some of those little protective mechanisms and allowing yourself to kind of have that bridge and be able to experience or recall information and work in a collaborative way between your conscious and your subconscious or unconscious. It's a really cool process and it can create some really amazing transformations for people, because, I mean, if we think about, you know, where do our beliefs even come from? Most of us have followed Bruce Lipton at all. You know, most of your beliefs come from before you're at the age of 7. You fundamentally made up something. You used your imagination to label an experience a certain way. And now that belief then travels forward throughout time. And, you know, if you like, I know that I found one of mine, and for some reason, when I was young, I just decided that I was an inconvenience. That I was an inconvenience to everyone around me. So believing I was an inconvenience then made me feel like, oh, well, how do I get people's attention? How do I make myself more valuable so that people will want to interact with me and people will want to engage with me? How do I make myself more valuable so that I'm not an inconvenience anymore? I was constantly trying to prove myself as being valuable and worthy because I thought I was an inconvenience. So once you go back and change the meaning of that experience, and you know you're not an inconvenience anymore, now you don't find yourself having to do those things that you were doing before. It's really very cool.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Yeah. And like you said, you know, you did say that you know, the really profound changes you think are the ones that take a little bit of more time to develop. But I've actually kind of, in my reality, at least especially the past year or so, it's been quite the opposite, where I, like, for example, as a massage therapist, when doing healing with the body, it was very much like sometimes you'd work with a client for 6, 7, 8, 9 sessions, and then like maybe their pain's gone, and then like they still have to come for maintenance and all that. Whereas like doing like entity removal or like just basic shamanic healing like that I do, I could take someone with like 10 out of 10 pain, like bulging discs in their back or something, and just boom, and like an instant the pain's gone and it's just gone forever. And it's like same thing with like mental changes. And even I remember back studying hypnosis, just in a few minutes taking someone to a space where they're having almost like the kind of experiences that people either take psychedelics or try and train and meditate and go into these like crazy altered states to have with just a few easy, simple suggestions. I guess my point in saying that was that although sometimes it does take longer for us to heal from like really deep, painful traumas, also healing can be effortless and easy and quick and fun. It can be a fun process to heal. And as we see, if when we have that sort of direct communication, and we're not having to work through all these barriers that our minds puts up, like with hypnosis, or when we're just directly energetically interacting with it, like we do in shamanic work, you can shift a person's life. You can make a subtle shift in awareness or in the energetic field, and it can completely change like every aspect of a person in an instant. And it's really amazing. So I think it's so cool that there are so many more people like us who are starting to explore these modalities, whether we're working with like the mind and hypnosis or like the energetics through shamanic work, because there is just so much to be discovered and so much incredible change for people to experience if we open up and allow ourselves to explore further outside of what's kind of thrown in our faces. You said like from a younger age, or we form most of our belief systems. Well, I know like for me, like I was taught, okay, well, like stop talking to your imaginary friends, and like was never taught anything about energy and like none of this stuff, and like it's all in your like the whole like it's in your imagination thing, like stop imagining things. So like it's not beneficial as an adult, as a functioning human being, to like just spend time in your imagination. Like, man, those are toxic ideas implanted in us.
Aren't they? I mean, think about it, like how we train kids out of imagination. Like we make them go to schools where they sit in these little desks and they like, it's almost like militant how a lot of our education system, at least when I went to school, I don't know what it's like now, I don't have kids, but it was very militant when I went to school. Like you sat there, you're supposed to be quiet. Like it wasn't really meant for someone like me. I'm a like, I gotta move. I'm a energetic, happy, outgoing, like vibrant person. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I'm not a sit down and listen and receive information, learn. Like I gotta be touchable, tangible. I gotta have it coming in multiple ways. I'm a vibrational person. Like I need the vibration, it can't just come in one way. It's gotta come, I gotta experience it all. So yeah, I do find it really intriguing, the stuff that happens when we're kids and how that, kind of shapes us and directs us. But, at the same time, it's a chicken or the egg kind of thing. Like, what about, if I wouldn't have had all those crazy experiences or formed those beliefs or any of that stuff would have happened, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that I'm on the right path and that I wouldn't be here if I hadn't had all those experiences. So like I love who I am. So I wouldn't be me without that. So it's okay that I went through all of it because ultimately it led me here. And I mean, sometimes we forget about the fact that the journey, the process of healing, whatever it looks like for us, is sometimes that's the magical part, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that I guess a really good point that you brought up. Like the journey of healing itself is so magical, because people forget that, and we're such a results, like instant gratification type society. And it's funny that you said that. I've recently been putting that like on my, I think it's on my website now, and somewhere else I just updated it and put that. But like I'll oh, hold on one second. My phone is. I have noise canceling headphones on, so I could kind of hear something. That's probably louder for you guys.
I wasn't sure what was going on, but it's all good.
It was just spirit interjecting.
Yes, exactly. Which is good because I don't remember what I was talking about now.
One note on schools, though, since you brought up education, it's so different from school system to school system. Like where we live in Westlake, the kids actually have mindfulness classes and yoga classes and daycare.
Awesome.
But if you look at just the recent whole pandemic thing, there were some schools that did nothing because they couldn't guarantee a consistent experience. There were some school systems that didn't have money to be able to go virtual. And so there's such a wide range of where in different locations and different school districts, people aren't getting the same opportunities necessarily. And that's where it's just nice as parents to be able to inspire the children to be able to be a little bit more intuitive. And I even play intuitive games with the kids, like, okay, with the next car that comes down the road, what color is it going to be? Is it going to be a car? Is it going to be a truck? And like, which elevator door is going to open? And like playing little games to keep their intuition engaged. And they know that when they go to school, if the teacher says, that's in your imagination, they're like, oh, our daddy told us better.
I love that. I love your kids, Hank. They're the cutest. I don't know. They're amazing. They're amazing children. I love them.
They were listening to some of the voice messages back and forth, and when we were talking about, I love your family and all this, and they were just like beaming with these big smiles. They're like, is that the nice lady we went to eat with that told us about getting lightsabers at Walmart? And it's like, so they immediately made the association. So you definitely made an impression.
I love it. They're the best assistants too. Every time I've been to like a crystal singing bowl thing or anything with you, Hank, and your kids are there. Oh man, they are the best little assistants. Love them.
Yeah. Except they sometimes fight over who's going to play the gong. That's the only.
Just have to take turns. Just gotta take turns.
Yeah. Got to plug in here. Oops.
It's awesome. Yeah, the school system thing, it is interesting to me that it's so wildly different. And I'm in the South now, so I don't know what it's like down here as far as the average kid, but I know that one school in Kentucky or Tennessee or something like that, then they banned Harry Potter because they felt that there was magical spells in the book. Did you guys hear about that?
Oh no.
Oh,
I didn't hear about that.
There's so many books that have been banned and things because of one little point of view. I didn't realize Harry Potter was included among them, though.
Yeah, it was like a big deal. I remember hearing about it. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I mean, people have their beliefs, and it's not my job whether to point out whether that belief is true and accurate or wrong, so it's just interesting that it happens, I guess.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention, you brought up Bruce Lipton. He wrote the book called Biology of Belief, I believe is the name of the book. Yep. And just to really illustrate to people how malleable, is that the word I want to use? Malleable, how easily you can reshape points of view and beliefs. Because he would do like tests with DNA markers, like showing people's predisposition for different diseases or ailments or whatnot. And then you would work on them with belief statements. I'm not sure exactly which technique he would use. Then you would do the same test again, and all those predispositions are gone. So really, it's only your belief that something is so that holds it in place. And all it takes is a little bit of shift and experience with a hypnotherapist or something else to just suspend your disbelief for a moment to slip into a whole different possibility. And Ernie had a comment I'll bring up. He just said, you can say we are always on our path, even though it sometimes looks like we took a wrong turn. Absolutely true.
That is right.
There's been many things in my life where, if looking back, it's like, why did that happen? And then all of a sudden it becomes relevant based on the current situation. It's like, oh, had I not had that experience, I wouldn't have been able to handle that. and all of a sudden in context, it totally changes everything you thought you knew about a past trauma or It's all a resource. That the trick is, don't get caught up in the trauma and the drama of the past. Just retain the pearls of wisdom that can be of service to your fellow human being.
And one thing.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's amazing to think about this. Like, even if you think from more of a scientific perspective, and you don't have just to think about it kind of logically, if you accept whatever, say like the idea of the Big Bang, right, where like something happened and there was just an explosion of energy and matter that expanded in all directions. So from that initial event that like created this physical universe, every single particle that bounced into another particle and went flying off in another direction in space, and every like chemical interaction that happened since the dawn of time, all the stars that exploded and became planets and all of this, everything lined up and happened in the exact way to the point you were born, and every single event that happened in your life and all throughout the universe all happened to bring about this moment right here, right now. It couldn't have happened any other way than it had right now. All of the pieces of everything since the dawn of time conspired to bring this about right here. And that's a really cool thing to think about. And, when people say, everything is as it should be. Yeah. And that's a really like profound way to kind of think about that and realize that.
Or my way to say that, every moment is a God moment. Every moment no moment is more golden than another. All it would take is one asteroid veering off course, and all that we have here, the Goldilocks zone of the Earth, where life is possible, didn't happen. So like really, like don't take anything for granted, the bad or the good, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes with that, because every single thing, so much had to happen for that one thing to be brought to you. And what if the only thing that makes it negative is the lenses that you're looking at it through?
Exactly.
So what would it be like if you could just look at the raw experience and label it however you would like? You could label everything as perfection or whatever the case is. We have so much control as to how we look at the world, and we just have to start taking the blinders off and really showing up for the experience.
And that's actually the point that I was going to make, is that the one thing that I've learned for myself is that I just look at everything as information. It's just information. So I had this experience, and that experience went good or went bad. Okay, that's just information. Can I take something of value from the experience now? Yes or no. If I can't, okay, well, whatever. It was just information. It's just something that happened. And that's where that's part of the reason why I think I really have been fascinated and really enjoyed studying and utilizing hypnosis, is because exactly what you said, that it's all about the meaning that we place on something. And the minute you change the meaning, you change the trajectory of so many things. And the thing I love about Dr. Bruce Lipton is that he talks about that you are not a victim to your genes. And how many people are dealing with health issues, right? And they're like, oh, well, I'm predisposed to being heavy set, or I'm predisposed for cancer. Yeah, but what's turning those genes on? What's causing those things to express? You can change the environment. You can change the constructs that are around that to make it so that gene isn't expressed. Because let's say that cancer runs in your family, but every member of your family hasn't gotten cancer necessarily. Well, we have to start looking at the one person who didn't get it, and how do they live differently? How do they think differently? It's one of those things where I think people, I hear it all, that like, oh gosh, probably this is my interesting point of view. Okay, I'm calling it out. I know it's a judgment, but one thing that drives me insane is when people are like, oh, it's just getting old. I'm just getting old. My body hurts because I'm just getting old. It's just getting old. I'm like, bull crap, says who? Just because your chronological age is getting up there in numbers doesn't mean that your body has to feel like crap. Can you stop telling yourself that age equals body feels like crap? Body is a freaking amazing thing that is capable of healing itself and does it all the time. And it's making the best out of whatever you throw at it all the time. Like, come on. Like,
This is the one in particular of like, oh yeah, I'm just getting old now. Like that whole thing, I run into that so often, and when doing healing work, and also just to the people that I talk to in my daily life. And I always bring up these examples of like, so my cousin has done a lot of traveling, and he does these big, like he's walked the Camino, which is like the entire length of Spain and Portugal. He's kayaked the Mississippi River from source to sea. He rode his bicycle from Colorado to Alaska, and has done all these incredible things. And he's met really amazing people along these journeys. And a lot of these people that he's met are like in their 80s, you know, like, and the one example he always gives me is, or that I give a lot of people from his stories that he's told me is, he met this one guy, I think it was on the Camino. But when he met this guy, I think he was in his 80s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like his early or mid 80s. And it's this old dude who could literally put his leg behind his head, was how flexible he was. And this dude, when he met him, was doing one of these trips and just goes from one to the next. And last I heard, this guy was walking the Appalachian Trail, right? So like the longest, most arduous trail on the planet, right? And you know, and he's just going to keep doing that, and he's going to keep cruising, you know. And then you get people, you know, this is like I said, he's doing that in his like mid to late 80s or something. And then you get people who are like 40 years old, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, my back, like I'm just all downhill from here, man. You know, and I'm like, bullshit. Like if that is the reality that you're choosing to create, and that's what you believe, then absolutely you're going to create a crappier and crappier and crappier body. But if you believe the opposite, you think with age, the more I work on myself, the more I improve myself, my energy, the way that I am, the better my body's going to be, then that's going to be your reality too. So, you know, which one do you pick?
My grandpa in his 80s was still skiing and being very active. I think he even jumped out of helicopters and just went down random mountains. Like he was all, you know, pretty fit for his age. Pot and pock, all that. But yeah, like point of view creates reality, and if we align and agree with, or resist and react to everybody's idea that when you get old, all this stuff has to happen and this happens to the body, that's what our experience is. But you could just choose something different for your body. And there's a lot of energy processes. Like I know Sarah knows from Access, there's the aging toaster, there's a whole body process called the energetic facelift, all kinds of different things that can help energetically shift all those beliefs around the body and give you a whole different experience with aging.
There's one thing that I teach a lot of my clients, and I'm going to throw this out there for whoever wants it, because I feel like it'll contribute to this conversation. I always look at it like, if my body was a romantic partner, how would I treat it? Because if you were in a romantic relationship with someone who told you what to wear, how to eat, where you could go, how much exercise you needed to do, what chemicals to put in your body. Like if they were demanding and called you fat and ugly and, you know, sloppy or whatever, would you stay in a relationship with that person? No, you wouldn't. You would probably be like, peace out, motherfucker, I'm done. Like, I don't have time for that. You know, like
the body can't run away. You know?
Right. So like, you know, if you think about it like that, you start treating your body with the same respect you would your romantic partner. You would have like, how much more of a loving relationship might you have, and in a more congruent relationship might you have between your consciousness and your body? And I'll tell you what,
I love that metaphor so much. But it's not even a metaphor. It's like it's
true.
You know, it's true. It really is. But you know, people don't even realize that they have a relationship with their body. It's just, you know, this thing that, you know, like gets them to work so that they can pay their bills, so that they can go home and be miserable, you know. But when you, and that's something through working with Hank that I've learned so much more about. Is like entering into a dialogue with your body. You can actually ask your body questions, you know, and it responds. And even before that, like when working and learning, going through massage therapy school, you know, we were my teacher always taught us that, you know, when that person comes in and they say, oh, my back or my shoulder hurts so bad, like I can't even walk now, and I can't go to work, you know. And then you ask them, well, what did you do? Did you have an injury? Like what happened? They say, I don't know. I just woke up like that one day. Well, no, you didn't. Your body was communicating with you for a long time, giving you all kinds of signals saying, hey, something's wrong. And you ignored it until finally you didn't have a choice, and it just broke. And then now it's screaming at you. You know, but before it starts screaming at you, it's constantly communicating. You're telling you something's off and you need to make a change. And if you tune in and you learn to listen to the body, it'd maybe proactive, you know. Don't wait for it to start giving you signals. Start asking it, hey, are you all right? You know, what are we doing? How are you feeling today, body? How are you feeling today? It's a great question to ask yourself. Yeah. You know, and but it's so true. Like we have these incredible vessels that are capable of so much. And if you're going to develop a good relationship with anyone, you're your own vessel is a great place to start.
Absolutely. And Casey knows the story already, but Sarah, it's been so long since we talked. I don't know if you were aware of it or not, but after an access class, I really started to ask my body what it liked, what it desired. And I basically went plant-based overnight. I've been vegan now, plant-based, I should say, for just over 2 years. And when I started to have that dialogue with my body, like my clothing changed, like the things that I would eat changed, everything changed. And one of the things that was paramount in that is in the Access Bar class, there's one process called the thymus exercise. I actually do a walkthrough of it, and I just posted a link to it on my YouTube channel, The Sonic Shaman. So if you want to check out the link, you can go and experience that. But it was that process that really started to bring a congruency between the body and the being. And when you can enter not just communication, but communion with the body, the whole experience changes. Because how much, when you're looking to create in your life, how much is it just a being and the body's not on board, or vice versa? Like, what would it be like to have all of you, the totality of you, putting all of its effort and focus on creating something? And I think it's a night and day difference when you can really have that level of communion.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with you. And I did know that story. But the one thing that I will say is that, it's something that it came kind of naturally, and then we learned a lot more about it in Access Consciousness. But I've come to this understanding. This is the way that I kind of like look at my body. I look at my body like, because if you know anything about how we're developing utero, right? The first thing to develop in utero is your nervous system. Your central nervous system is the first thing that gets created. And when you think about the body and what it's designed to do, I call it a universal receiving system, because you have all these nerve endings all over your body. Your body is what you use to experience reality. Without it, you don't experience reality the same way, right? You don't have the touchable, tangible feelings. So I look at it like my body is the universal receiving system, and I want to make sure that I'm taking really good care of that universal receiving system, because whatever information I'm picking up, whether it be, through the spidey sense and, the empath stuff, or if it's coming from what I'm actually touching and physically engaging with, all of that is coming through the body and processing through the body. So if I want to have clear awareness of what my environment is doing and what the energies around me are doing, then I need to have a greater, like you said, a communion with my body. And honestly, from that is what allowed me to get a lot of my empath stuff. Like, I have a much better relationship and understanding of what it means to be an empath and how to experience that and not be overwhelmed by it, because I've really worked at becoming more in communion with my body and having that understanding that my body is there to help me and facilitate change for me throughout, however we're navigating through this environment. I cherish this vessel, this being that I'm, this body that I have. It's one of my top priorities to take care of it and to live with it. And I concur with you on that. I like where you went vegan, my body's like, girl, you got to eat a piece of red meat every once in a while. Like, totally different scenario, right? Like, I want to be a vegan for moral reasons, but my body's not having it. So it's that understanding and being able to be in that space. It's so much more rewarding. Not only that, but like, it's even changed the way I go shopping. I'm like, is that comfortable? As soon as I touch it, my body's like, nope, ew, no, we're not buying that. Like, I don't even have to think about it. The body's just like, no.
A funny story. If you want to see, we get two vegans. Me and Casey, we have terrible shopping habits. I'll tell you. We go to West Virginia.
Man.
And we go to like a couple different stores to buy groceries. Probably spend like $600 in groceries and have like zero meals out of it. We're just
I remember it.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, especially at the like Trader Joe's, they just have so many goodies, like they're like vegan mac and cheese and like just all this incredible stuff. And so I remember at one point where like we just had this shopping cart loaded, and we went in and we had a plan of like we needed like 6 meals or 7 meals or 8 meals or something like that, and we had this whole shopping cart just full. And I looked at Hank and I'm like, Hank, how many of our meals do we have in here? And he just looks at me. looks back, and then just continues on with like grabbing random things.
Snack dinner.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, we did. We spent an absurd amount of money. Then we got back, and I'm like, well, we have like 3 of the planned meals that we talked about grabbing, and then we have $600 worth of whatever. And I'm like, how did that happen? And it was funny. I remember I went back and his wife was, I don't know if she asked like how the hell did you guys spend that much? Like, what did you guys buy? And
I can imagine on his face right now.
and I told her, I said to her, I was like, I asked him open. I'm like, Hank, do we have the meals? Because have we got everything we planned for? And he just looked at me and then like looked away and then was doing his own thing. And she goes, oh yeah, that's Hank. He does that all the time. That's just our meals.
See, now my husband and I call that snack dinner, where you just buy a bunch of snacks and then make that into a meal.
Yeah,
we could do that.
Snack dinner. But I think I'd like, I find it really interesting, and maybe that's just Hank's body. Maybe his body's like, I don't want to do meals. I want to do snacks.
Yeah, I just eat on impulse. My body's like, I want pineapple and pistachios. I'm like, all right, I'll get you some.
Cool, whatever you want.
That one comes up a lot. I don't know what it is about that combination, but I love it. So good. Cool. Well, we're just coming up on an hour. This has been so much fun, Sarah. I hope you will come on again. Like I couldn't contribute as much to the hypnosis thing, but that it's been so enlightening. I love everything that you brought to the table, and I think we could definitely do a lot of really good streams if you want to come on again and offer some of. How do people find you? Do you have your website up and running if people want to connect?
It is up. It's not completely finished, but it is up. It's sarahstabler.com.
Oh, just the name? Yeah,
just
I get it.
Yeah.
That's mine too. So you have Sarah's in the display name. You have it there, sarahstabler.com. I'm at hanksetala.com, right?
And I'm shamanswayhealing.com. For mine, if you want to reach out for me.
And then for everybody, I never really made an official announcement. It's on the website, but Holistic Health and Healing, the center itself has dissolved, and it is now a new thing. You can go to emergenceofbeing.com, and it is all about embracing the energy that the world is in now, from people going from being a human doing to a human being, and having contributors like Casey, myself, who knows, maybe Sarah, that all are really passionate, not just about healing somebody or addressing the symptoms, but really investing in the change of someone to really develop and express their own unique voice in this world. That's what it's all about. It's about emerging into who you came here to be, not what you came to do. The doing comes after being. So a lot of excitement. So definitely check out the website. We're going to be doing all kinds of virtual stuff. Maybe Sarah's class she was talking about.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, little teaser for that. But thank you, everyone, for watching. And you can also download all the episodes on iTunes or Amazon Music or all that. After today, it will be available tomorrow on all those. So if you just want to tell your favorite smart device to play Stir Crazy Shamans, it will. Isn't that cool?
And after this, we have so many episodes where we talked about so many incredible, wonderful, magical things and had other amazing guests on. So I would definitely recommend, if you're on YouTube, especially right now, or if you're not on YouTube, head on over to YouTube and just go back to the episode log and like pick the name of an episode that kind of calls out to you. And I found like when I do that, with anything, like whoever I find, if I'm like really engaged in something, if I go through like their YouTube channel and I just pick, that title catches my eye, it's always what I needed to hear or what I needed to like experience in that moment. So really cool thing to do there. So yeah, check out our other videos. We've talked about so many amazing things. Yeah. And actually on emergenceofbeing.com, if you go under live streams, it has all the live streams that all the contributors do. So you have Casey's individual channel, you have my channel, you have Dr. K's channel. All the videos are all on the website. So you can just go to Emergence of Being and find everything. But there is a playlist on Stir Crazy Shaman specifically for guests. So if you really like the guests, like when we have Sarah on, or when we've had on Midnight Meanderings, we had Rocky, the guy who gets the rocks that people get freaked out of when they take it away from the island and mail them back. We had like that guy on who gets those rocks and puts them back in the sacred places. Like all kinds of there's guests that we've had on that are just like really one in a million. So go back and just check out the playlist. That is a great thing. And I have started doing almost daily live stream called the Coffee Connect. I'll be on tomorrow at 9 a.m. just having a cup of coffee or tea like tonight, and just kind of talking about the inspiration of the day. So much stuff, but you can find it all at emergenceofbeing.com. Cool. Awesome. Thank you again. And Sarah, hang out for a second after we end here, and then we can just wrap up offline. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.
But thanks, everyone. Take it easy. Just got to find the right video. Bye.